Hickok 45 here with the gun that won the West. You've heard that before, haven't you? I'm gonna take one shot and then I'll put my ears on. How's that? It's actually not too loud. 4440, 1873 Winchester. Let's just go ahead and wake up the gong. Ah, what a sound. Is that sweet? Let's hit a buffalo over there. We killed us a buffalo right away. How about a turkey over there on the right? Down the hill a little bit. All right. We got dinner. We've got dinner. Let's go back to that pig on the top left. All right. That's enough eating for one day. Yeah, this is my new Uberti 1873. Pretty cool, huh? Uberti's really slipping. You notice the finish now, I don't know, they're trying to make it look realistic. I guess they're beating on the barrel with a chain, and they're really roughing them up a lot, aren't they? Pretty funny. No, this is an original, and I have never owned one. Now we own an original 1873. After all these years, should be whipped for that, right? As much as I like vintage firearms and lever guns, I have no excuse. I apologize. I have never owned one. And it's in 4440. That's what I was shooting. The appropriate cartridge, right? At least for the 1870s. And it's called the 1873 Winchester. Are you ready? Yeah, Winchester came up with this in 1873. And we'll talk a little bit about how this one came about. But mainly want to focus on the 1873, the gun that won the West. The one that Jimmy Stewart proved is really, really accurate. Nobody knew it was that accurate until Jimmy Stewart fired it in that movie, right? Let's go here and lay it down for a second, and I'll show you where it fits in the great scheme of things. We've got a bunch of guns out here. We're not going to shoot them all, but just to for historical clarity and put things in perspective. And before we get to EDU, and yeah, this is the 1873. The telltale sign, or one of them, of course, is this side plate, right? And your loading gate. Well, I'm going to say is that the only other Winchester that looks like that is the 1876, but it's bigger. It's like this firearm on steroids, all right? But now if you just see the 76 in a movie or something, if they actually have one, somebody's shooting it, and it's hard to tell the difference for me. But the 1873 had that side plate. You take that off, and it's easier to get into the toggle link system and clean it, that kind of thing. More so than the Henry or the 1866, okay? And is in 4440. It looks like a 45 Colt, doesn't it? And you do have to be careful. I do. Very, very, very careful and not put wrong ammo in when you're talking about this or a 45 Colt, because as experienced and as brilliant as I am, when I look at that, that just, I mean, you could hand me that and tell me it's 45 Colt. I would, yeah, it is. Well, you gotta kind of study it a little bit. It's 4440, all right, a little bit smaller. And these are cowboy loads, very weak cowboy loads for this old gun. And this old gun is a gift to John and me from a viewer of the videos, two viewers, a fellow and his father watched the videos for a long time, and his father passed away, and he wanted us to have that firearm, and had several cool firearms and vintage firearms, that kind of thing. And I mean, I couldn't talk him out of it. He really wanted us to have it. Okay, so I finally told him we're honored to take it, and we will try to immortalize it and be worthy, okay, of his father, and keep it going, keep it in shape, and shoot it occasionally, and you know, in memory of his father. And he didn't want to share names or anything, but so you know, observe that. So anyway, thanks to them, and we just are immensely grateful of that, for that. It's as you can see, it's well worn. It's really neat. I mean, look at the character of that thing, and it seems to be mechanically sound. I shot it before the video a few times, and you know, seems okay. If there's trouble, we'll get it fixed. Again, you know, it's an honor to own it, to have it, and it makes it a special firearm, more so than if I had just picked one up. And I had been thinking about one, you know, so I'm likely to have picked one up in Tulsa or somewhere at some point. But this one is more special, has more meaning. It was owned by somebody who, you know, who knew us and liked the videos, watched the videos, and I guess he liked the videos. No, he did. And but he passed recently, and his son wanted us to have it. So we're going to try to honor it and not miss too much with it, because that would kind of dishonor it. So 4440 and 1873 Winchester. Let me shoot it a little bit. I'll put some more around. We're not going to shoot it a lot, but we'll take good care of it. And, right. So good old 73 Winchester, gun that won the West. And if we've got new shooters out there, new people, we've done these. I have a Birdie 1873, and I've talked about a lot of this. I'll try to remember to link to a couple of those videos, but gone through the history, and we'll go through a little bit of it here. But this came out in 73, and it was the first really successful, I guess, centerfire cartridge. Centerfire cartridge. The early ones, I guess, were copper, like with the 4570. Then they later went to brass. But it made things so much simpler, not being rimfire, and of course being a cartridge. And very, very successful, and incredibly successful. This gun was so beloved by everybody, just wonderful. And then later there were handguns chambered in the 4440, so it just worked out beautifully. And I'm going to smoke a little pot with it. There you go. Smoke a little more pot. Yes. And I didn't tell you, it was made in 1886. Okay, that's the vintage on this firearm. Not the model. It's a model 73, but it was made in 1886. So they were probably not shooting 2 liters very often, at least in plastic in 1886, but we are. Let's pop that turkey on the top row. All right. Somebody in the last however many years got the sights on. Yeah. Cowboy, you need to be hit with this. Right in the heart. I think it's empty, yeah. Yeah, how could I miss or not shoot the cowboy with an 1873? Yeah, if you've not seen the movie 1873, you'll see it's called Winchester 1873 with Jimmy Stewart. That's the first one, the old one. Now made around 1950 or something. It's a great movie, and it's an old movie, black and white, I guess, yeah. And they talk about a Winchester. The movie is about, imagine that, since it's in the title, the Winchester 73, and it's one of their one of 1,000 or one of 100, one of 1,000, I think, Winchesters. And they're competing for it and everything, having shooting matches, and they're driving nails with these. Hollywood just can never be too realistic, right? And that's not to say that someone hasn't driven a nail with one of these, but you know, just the average shooter is not going to be putting nails down there and spikes and boom, 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 hitting them every time, right? So a lot of history to this thing. Like I said, really beloved and marketed well. It came out in 4440. There's a big cartridge, big year, 1873. We have a video called 1873 for that reason. And it was later chambered after 1880 in 3840 and 3220. And I think those were the only 3 chamberings in the life of the firearm up until, well, it was made from 73 to 1923. That's almost 50 years. Yeah, relatives, Kentucky. So it was made for a long time. And it's kind of interesting because there were some other firearms that came out that you might think were better, but it's still, I think it even outsold the 92s. So just quickly, let me show you where it came from. Okay, we got these in order, as you can tell. And then over here, if the table were bigger, I would bring out the Volition rifle, the Jennings, the Volcanic, okay, whatever else, you know, but the table wasn't big enough. Actually, I don't have those anyway. But there's history before the Henry. Just, you know, where you got was it Walter? I forget his name. Gosh, Hunt. Yeah, I think with the early Volition attempts at a lever gun. Then you got the Volcanic. You got Smith & Wesson, Horace Smith and Daniel Wesson involved in that. And you've got, of course, Benjamin Tyler Henry involved with them. Then Oliver Winchester is an investor in the New Haven Arms Company that changes names and all that kind of stuff going on. Maybe we've talked about all that. Maybe we'll need to do a video someday and be real specific about all of that. I'm sure somebody has. But then you get up into 1860, and it evolves, the Volcanic, which used this like a mini ball called the rocket ball and all that kind of thing, into this, the Henry, which used a regular cartridge, rimfire 44, but a cartridge, and it was copper too early on. I don't know when they ever went to brass on those, but it was a cartridge, all right, 44 caliber. And that's the Henry rifle, the same toggle link system. All three of these have the same action, more or less, just with some improvements, but you see how that, they're inside, if we took the plates off, you'd see a similar action, okay, toggle link. Not known for being incredibly strong, but that's why these were chambered in basically handgun cartridges, right? 44 Henry, 4440, 3220, 3840, handgun cartridges, really, handgun power, right? And so that's the evolution. You had the Henry, you know, it loaded up here. You had to break you pull this up, you know, break that over and slide the rounds in. You've seen us do videos on this Henry, I hope, many of them, several. Okay, that was the Henry, 1860 model. I don't think they were available much till 1861 or 2. Used in the Civil War, okay, not extensively, but very effectively. What a change. You know, single shot to this thing held, what, 15 or 16 rounds. And then just the 1866 was an improvement of the Henry. All right, it's basically the same firearm, but with a loading gate. Yeah, loading gate. And then you had your forearm and everything, because these barrels get hot. You're firing black powder cartridges. They really get hot. Even though it's not a hot cartridge, they really do. So then you get closer to what the lever action became, right? These were extremely popular, of course, but it still fired that same rimfire 44 cartridge. All right, then, this is when they changed their name to Winchester. Basically, Oliver Winchester was responsible for these, and he and Tyler Henry. But they changed the name. I think it was Winchester. Yeah, New Haven Firearms, repeating arms or whatever, I think, during this period, and then became Winchester, because that's the 66 Winchester. And then continued to improve it, and then you see in 1873 we go to the side plate, makes it a little bit easier to get into it. And I'm not sure what all other improvements, not a lot, but the cartridge was really a big improvement. A 4440 center fire. Now if you look at one of those, and I think I actually have one, I should have brought it out, you can't see the primer, but it is a center fire. It's underneath that, okay, on the early ones. So 1873, it's, in a way, it's when it all culminated in this. And this was, I don't know if it was perfection, but it was close, right? And very reliable. I was reading something where, Mike Venturino writes on these old guns a lot, where talking about the popularity of this thing and how, it's funny. It's a 150-yard gun with a dinky little cartridge, 4440. It's not all that powerful at all, but yet it was just incredibly popular and successful. And nobody wants to get hit even by a dinky little cartridge, and it held so many, the capacity of it and the reliability of it, so all that made a difference for sure. So in the West, I mean, this model goes back to more or less the Wild West. See, unlike a lot of firearms that came along in the 1890s or early 1900s, 1873 is getting on back their ways, right? So very, very popular. Kind of load up and shoot a little bit more. So this is a toggle link action, and not known for being extremely strong, but I never had any trouble with it. But I'm not shooting 45-70 out of it, that's for sure. You know, it's funny that people, a lot of people criticize the pistol caliber carbines and all that kind of things that are useless and all that. Well, you know, we kind of started out with pistol caliber rifles and carbines in a lot of ways, at least with lever guns that had, you know, higher capacity. So this is neat. Some people would look at this and think, oh, that old piece of junk, rusty old piece of junk. Not me, not John. We look at a firearm like this and we see history and we see the, you know, the character. And I'd rather have this than than my reproduction that looks like new. So obviously. How about another metal bowling pin? How about a cowboy right in the heart again? Yeah, he's a desperado. And how about that ram up there? All right, cool. And how about that gong up there? Pretty good shooter. How about that pig in the middle of the field over there? All right. Yeah, I think we haven't missed too much. Again, we want to try to honor the former viewer and the current viewer and take care of this thing, enjoy it, and you know, and respect it. Probably will not paint the stock or anything like that, or paint the barrel. Let me show you, everybody look, you see how empty it is? See that chamber? There ain't no bullets in there. Okay, so let's look at the muzzle. Look how thick that barrel is. Is that that is a hoss, isn't it? Especially when you're talking about a cartridge that's just not very powerful. That's a hoss. So I read some on that about they offered some of these in heavy barrel, or they called it heavy barrel or extra heavy barrel, and people don't seem so sure about it. There were periods of time when they just put a heavier barrel on it through certain serial numbers or something. I don't know. Either way, it's got a fairly heavy barrel in it. Okay, if it weren't for the toggle link action, you could fire a 44 Magnum maybe in that barrel, in that chamber. Don't quote me on that. I'm just talking at the top of my head. But it is, let's see, what was I read that they used iron up until, on the receivers up until 1884. And then they went, I guess, more nickel steel after that. So this would be a little stronger than the earlier models, because this one again was made in 1886. Okay. And y'all might have seen that a few years ago. What was it, 2014? Somebody found one of these in, it was a park in Nevada, a national park. Can't think of the name of it. Great Basin National Park, I think it is. I've never been there. They found one leaning up against the tree, and it was just virtually, you know, rotted away and everything. But I don't know if they ever ascertained when it was left exactly, sometime in the 1870s or 80s. And we've seen it, John and I, at NRA meetings or at the SHOT Show or somewhere. They've had it there in a glass case, you know, it's kind of neat. But these things were just around forever and used widely. This is the gun you should be seeing, the rifle, you should be seeing in Western movies, but you're not. It's not your fault. You know, you didn't decide on the props. You're seeing model 1894 Winchesters, you're seeing model 1892 Winchesters, right? Almost every time. Rarely do you see one of these. Now, in some recent movies you do, because the reproductions are out there. Birdie's been making reproductions of these for a while. I have one. And so, like in Tombstone and movies like that, Silverado or whatever, you'll see them. But now, if you look into movies made in the 40s, the 30s, 50s, 60s, you may never see an 1873, which is kind of weird because it was probably the most commonly used, carried lever gun at the time. Can I shoot it again? And then the other thing I did mention, in case you're not aware, I used to think that was mostly a myth, a marketing thing, but I don't think it was entirely marketing. But they would offer these special guns with special finish, maybe some engraving, and it would be like 1 of 1,000, and they even had 1 of 100, and they were supposed to be extremely accurate. And I guess there's truth to that, because I think what they did in the manufacturing process is they tested each barrel and tested it for accuracy. And the one, supposedly, this is the story, so they would, if they found a barrel in a long run of barrels they're shooting just to test firearm that shot, I don't know, maybe they shot 3 or 4 rounds, and one that shot really tight groups, or the tightest groups, they would put that barrel aside and they would put that in a stock and receiver that was maybe a little special, maybe, I don't know, special engraving or plating or whatever, and they would label it 1 of 1,000. And there were even some that were 1 of 100 that were extremely accurate, I suppose. So I guess it wasn't entirely marketing. There's a marketing element to it, of course. But yeah, so that's interesting. That's what that movie was about. They were all competing for one of those, 1 of 1,000. Okay, so I'll shoot it one more time, and I've probably forgotten a lot of things that I was wanting to tell you. I've always liked it. You know, that's why. Let me show you mine. Now this is a 92. I'm not going to belabor that one. That has a different action, and that's an extremely popular rifle. Locks up differently. It's stronger, even though it's smaller. Okay, so the 92 is really a nice rifle. And then this is my replica. You've seen it. This is Uberti, 1873. We've done several videos with it. It's the only one I've had. Okay, until this. And recently I had a friend of mine, he's lent us a few different guns. He's a horse guy, a Vaquero, what other guns he lent us, but it's for videos. But he's good at refinishing wood and guns and stock and all that kind of thing. So I had him do this. You know, Uberti, the only thing about Uberti is you get this red tint, weird stuff sometimes and finish on their stock. So he refinished that for me. I really like it. It's pretty neat. But that's a Uberti. That's what this one would have looked like, more like that, when Harry Smith or whoever bought it in 1886 off the shelf, right? So we'll shoot it one more time. And yeah, you look, see, it says 44 caliber. It doesn't say 4440 because they didn't call it 4440 till later. And you got some dings here and there. There's a common ding, someone pounding on the sight, right? Maybe in 1886 or 1890 or 1903, you know, a little rust there somebody's worked with. So lots of history there. Let me put a few more in it, take a couple more shots. 4440. Yeah, I think, who was it, Marlin or Colt? Anyway, when they started chambering their firearms in 44, the same cartridge, they didn't want to call it Winchester, you know, 44 Winchester centerfire. You know, they didn't want to call it Winchester. And so they offered their firearms in 4440, same cartridge. Right. Okay, that's probably enough. Beautiful piece of history. And just by coincidence, you know, my 1886 Winchester was made in 1886 as well, so they're a bit of a pair, aren't they? Okay, I think the cowboy needs one more hit right in the hat. Yeah. All right, now let's go over there and pop that gong. Let's hit him about 3 times. And how about a pig over there on the left? Well, I'll tell you, pretty nice. I see a couple of pots that have not been smoked right here. Oh boy, I feel better already. Yeah. I think I have one more bullet, maybe more. Oh, we almost forgot this guy. I have another one. How could we almost forget him? Let's stop right there. Yeah, that was the last round. So I got one of those down my shirt. Good thing they're not too hot. So anyway, a real 1873, original, okay, made in 1886, and a very special firearm. Again, we want to express our appreciation to the viewer who made us take it. Okay, and it's a pleasure to bring it to you. It really is, and anytime we get it out, it will be a pleasure to bring it to you all and to honor his father, you know, who owned it. I'm sure he fired it, and the son fired it. He remembers firing it, and that his father got a lot of enjoyment out of it, I'm sure. So he had a good taste in firearms and cartridges. I can vouch for that. So it's fun, it's cool, and it's a really neat piece of history, just like I am. Well, not neat, but I'm a piece of history, right? Yeah, when you get to as old as I am, you are a piece of history. Life is good.
Oh yeah, that's better. This is a great gun for defense. Oh hey, didn't see you guys there. While I've got you here, I want to remind you of our friends over at Talon Grips and Ballistol. Talon Grips makes grips, can you believe it, for all different types of firearms. You can get rough texture or more of a rubberized texture. It just sticks right on there. You know, really affordable, really cool option to improve the grip for your handguns or rifles. So please check them out at talongungrips.com. You'll be glad you did. And also Ballistol. Dad has been using Ballistol for many years. It's a cleaner and a lubricant, and it's non-toxic. It works really great, and we're happy to have them on board since it's been a part of our shooting endeavor for a very long time. So go to ballistol.com, talongungrips.com, and also while you're out there, I'm juggling all these things here. Also, while you're on the internet, please do check out our other social media like Hickok45 on Facebook. There's also Hickok45 on Twitter, The Real Hickok45 on Instagram. There's a John_Hickok45 on Instagram where I do some things. There's Hickok45.com. You can find us also on Gunstreamer. So check out all that stuff and then watch more videos.